So there's some free things people can do to do that, as well as take some supplements. So one, fasting. Number one way to kill dead cells. Fast them out. Think about it. You're starving them. You don't give them any food. You don't give them any energy. Now they got to die for real, right? So fasting is the number one technique to be able to kill these cells. And it doesn't have to be like a crazy fast. You could do an intermittent fast. That'll help eliminate them. You could do an extended fast, water fast, right? People still want to be able to drink their coffee like me, right? They still want to be able to drink their coffee. So black coffee or black tea or just regular tea with no calories being added in. That's one of the best ways. So I would say first, kill those dead cells. Then we're going to do what's called the recharge phase, or basically fill up your gas tank. Think of your cells as a tank, right? With no NAD, the tank is empty. With lots of NAD, the tank is full. So that's what we're doing with the second phase, is we're actually giving your body what we call exogenous. The word exogenous means to come from outside the body. So that's in the form of a supplement, whether it's in an injectable shot, in an IV drip, in a pill that you can put under your tongue, in the powder, right? There's all these, we have patches people can wear on their skin. We've got all these different delivery systems. And as a matter of fact, as I have a patent out there on a new bioavailability system with NAD, where I have figured out a way to get it through the digestive system into a pill form, not using a liposomal technique, but it'll bypass the gut and it'll allow the NAD to get into the bloodstream as a pill.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Dr. Michael Chase, who's a friend of mine from Rise Up Kings, and he has some crazy stories, and I'm excited about this one. And he's actually inside of his pharmacy where they actually build injectable or create injectable drugs. Dr. Chase, tell us the story, man. How'd you get into this space?
Oh gosh, I mean, I know we're limited on time, Andrew. So I'll definitely try to give you the abridged version. But essentially, I've been playing around with experimental compounding since I was in high school. So since I was a chemistry student back at Holy Cross High School in Chicago, Illinois, class of '03, I've always had this fascination for understanding chemicals and molecular structures and stuff. And so I got into experimenting with compounding back then, right? And I would take these different mixtures and molecules, and I'd start pouring stuff and separating, and I didn't know what I was doing. But lo and behold, 20, 30 years later, right, I ended up in this industry, and it was just like a passion of mine back then. And I've done a lot of things in between, right? So it's not like I went straight from college into this field, right? I have had quite a few careers, but it was like a passion project. And then it turned into a way to support my other businesses. So my parent company, Ageless Humans, is the foundation of why I do what I do. So that all goes back to my own personal journey with my health. And I started that company in 2017. And it was called The Aging Human. I wasn't really sure where the company was going to go, but I had this idea because I came across this molecule that is in every cell in our body. And it's called NAD plus, or Nicotinamide Adenine Dinucleotide. And it's a coenzyme in every cell. Well, not only is this enzyme in our bodies, but it's in every living thing on the planet, right? Every organism needs it to survive, and without it, they die. So that quickly gave me this whole idea of like, well, wait a minute, if this molecule is so critical and crucial to our survival, as well as other beings' survival, well, then it must be like one of the most important things that we need, right? Like it has to be so important that, like, why does nobody know about this, right? Why is there no research being done? Why is there nobody talking about this? So when I used it back then to treat my own health conditions, it changed my life, Andrew. I mean, not just exaggerating in the point back for like I got enjoyment again. And when you're hooked on pain meds because your doctors are putting you on all these opioids, you really start to question your sanity, right? Like I was taking large doses of opioid pain medication every day, and my doctors were prescribing it to me. And then when it came time for me to come off, they cut me cold turkey and they were like, oh, sorry, we can't help you no more. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, how can you do that to a person? So how I learned about NAD was I had heard a doctor talking about it. This gentleman from Louisiana, he ended up becoming like a mentor to me. And he's called the godfather of NAD. And his name is Dr. Medier. And he's from New Orleans. And Dr. Medier started a clinic back in the late 90s to treat drug withdrawal and drug addiction and all these things. So he's the one who turned me on to it. I used the molecule myself. 10 days later, it was like I had a brand new brain. It was like someone took my brain out, cleaned it, put it back in. And not only did it make me feel completely different, I felt like my IQ had just shot up like 100 points. So then that's when I realized that the world needed to know about this stuff. So I made it my personal mission to not only become an NAD expert, but also learn how to make NAD available for everybody. And I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into addiction, even though I love addiction. And I'm grateful for all the people that are addicts that have gotten sober and gotten recovered and are out there helping other addicts. I knew this stuff could change lives beyond addiction, right? Like if we're using this for just that, why can't we use it for everything? And so that's what I set out the mission to do with Ageless Humans. So I started the company with the notion that I would not only help drug addicts, but I would help everybody. And then quickly, I started to see by giving this to people, right? So I would recruit people. I'd say, hey, look, I'm doing a personal independent study. I'm a naturopathic doctor, right? I never went out and claimed that this could cure anybody or anything like that. I was smart because I married a lawyer. So my wife was like, hey, you're not going to tell anybody, you could do this, this, or this. But what we can do is we can give you the tools. If you use them, let's get the feedback, the data. Let's see what happens, right? Well, I'll tell you what, man, everything from Parkinson's to dementia to hospice patients to cancer. I mean, really, there was no shortage of people. Of course, as you know, there's a lot of sick people out there, right? So I was willing to treat them. And not only that, I was willing to give it to them at no cost, no charge, because I didn't know where this could go. So I'm not going to take money from somebody if I don't have a protocol or I don't have a proven track record or anything like that, right? Like I don't want to do that. So I decided that I would give this to people for free and I would let them follow the program. And if we had to just wait and see at the end, right? Or we would get benchmarks throughout, but every single person got better to the point where a lot of them recovered fully. And then some of them had to continue to use NAD as a maintenance
Okay,
several times
so
a year.
this is a lot to take in, but it's fascinating. So I've actually seen some clips on Instagram about NAD,
Okay.
and like it's always like behind closed doors, like, oh, there's this like super secret formula that celebrities take and all these wealthy people, but it seems like it's pretty accessible, right? So it's not. And I was
It
just
is
looking at your
now.
your website.
It is now. So back
Okay.
then, it was not accessible, right? And I have treated every celebrity and professional athlete you can think of. I started out treating celebrities and professional athletes. That's how I got into this game, right? Was they didn't know much about it. I had the goods. They wanted the goods. So I was like, hey, if you guys want this, you're going to have to pay because I want to subsidize this for all these other people that can't afford it. So I was able to do that, right? And that's how I quickly managed to get as much data as I could because not only was I able to make more of it and compound it and give it away to people, but I had wealthy people that could afford to pay me the what it was worth to them, right? And as you can see, right, there's literally all this stuff out there on social media, TikTok, Instagram, right? But I'll tell you what. 7 years ago, 8 years ago, nobody knew about it. It was completely underground. And I knew it was going to blow up and emerge into this big thing. And I knew it was ultimately going to take over not only the pharmaceutical industry, but it was going to take over the entire nutraceutical industry. So I had created already all these formulas and protocols. We're the only company out there that has a patent pending 3-step anti-aging protocol on how to address cellular aging. Okay. No one else wanted to spend the time or the research, in my opinion, to come up with this. And so I said, look, I believe this is the way it needs to be done. Let me back it up scientifically, and then let me put people through it, and let's see what happens. And it quickly became the standard, right? So I think that's what my company is known for, is we are known for being innovative in the field of cellular regenerative medicine, right? The protocols, the intellectual property behind everything that we've done really speaks for itself. And that's why I'm trying to educate now, right? I've decided to get out into the world where I could educate people about this topic. I could teach them not only what their bodies can do naturally, but with a little bit of supplementation of the right stuff, man, you could reset the clock, and you could reset it quarterly, you could reset it biannually, you could reset it annually. Just depends on what you want to do, right? And how aggressive you want to be with your body.
Where should okay? So we'll use me as an example because I don't know anything about this stuff. But where would
Okay.
I start? Like, would I buy the powder? Would I buy the nasal spray? Like, what and
So
how
the
long would
so
I
the
take it
first
for?
Yeah, and that's great. And that's a great question, because this is where I get a lot of people ask this same question, right? Is they don't know where to start. And I tell them, okay, well, what do you know about zombie cells? What do you know about we call senescent cells? And they're like, well, what's that? And I said, well, go look up the term zombie cell, right? It's a medical term, and it's essentially a cell that refuses to die. It's already dead in the point that the body has no purpose for this cell anymore, right? It's completely off on its own, doing its own thing, but it's just stealing and siphoning energy away from the body.
Hmm.
And that's what we want to get rid of first. Think about it. If NAD is there to supply energy to the cell, right, through the citric acid or the Krebs cycle, right, or ATP cycle, why would I want to keep a dead cell going? I want to kill that thing first, right? Otherwise, I'm basically wasting the NAD. I don't want to keep dead cells alive. I want to get rid of them. So there's some free things people can do to do that, as well as take some supplements. So one, fasting. Number one way to kill dead cells.
Hmm.
Fast them out. Think about it. You're starving them. You don't give them any food. You don't give them any energy. Now they got to die for real, right? So fasting is the number one technique to be able to kill these cells. And it doesn't have to be like a crazy fast.
Yeah.
You could do an intermittent fast. That'll help eliminate them. You could do an extended fast, water fast, right? People still want to be able to drink their coffee like me, right? They still want to be able to drink their coffee. So black coffee or black tea, or just regular tea with no calories being added in. That's one of the best ways. So I would say first, kill those dead cells, right? Then we're going to do what's called the recharge phase, or basically fill up your gas tank. Think of your cells as a tank, right? With no NAD, the tank is empty. With lots of NAD, the tank is full. All right. So that's what we're doing with the second phase, is we're actually giving your body what we call exogenous. The word exogenous means to come from outside the body. So that's in the form of a supplement, right? Whether it's in an injectable shot, in an IV drip, in a pill that you can put under your tongue, in the powder, right? There's all these, we have patches people can wear on their skin. We've got all these different delivery systems. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you a little sneak peek on what's going on right now. Is I have a patent out there on a new bioavailability system with NAD, where I have figured out a way to get it through the digestive system into a pill form, not using a liposomal technique. It's a completely different technique, but it'll bypass the gut, and it'll allow the NAD to get into the bloodstream as a pill, which is
Hmm.
revolutionary, right? It's game changing. This is going to be a big deal, because A lot of people don't want to take shots. A lot of people don't want to take IVs and stuff, right? They just don't have the time for it, or they're nervous, or they're scared. Okay. So you asked a question: how long would you need to stay on it? That's up to you and your body. So we have you do what's called an assessment every 30 days, where we say, hey, you've been taking NAD for X amount of weeks, months, or whatever. Let's take it away from you. Okay. So let's say we tell you to take it for 30 days. On the 31st day, Andrew, we're going to say, you know what? Let's take the NAD away. And now I want you to journal for the next 5 to 7 days. How do you feel? All right. If you tell me that you are consistently feeling the same way that you felt while you've been on the NAD, then you're ready to move into the next phase. Then we put you in phase 3, which is the NMN or maintenance phase. If you told me, like, hey, doc, I'm kind of getting tired again, or I'm feeling these symptoms come back, then I say, okay, Andrew, we need to stay on it, right? Your tank is not full yet. Okay. Because once your tank gets full, you're going to know. You're going to know. Okay. Because you're going to be able to take the NAD away, and you're not going to get those crashes. You're not going to feel the way you did. You're going to be able to continue to make progress and make gains and feel better. Think of NAD like compound interest, right? The more you put in, the more it compounds, and the more residual return you can get over time. Okay. So, like, if I flood your body with NAD today, 3 weeks from now, we could still be using that flood that I gave you today. That's how long it may take for your, and what are the variables that change it, right? Well, energy drinks, drugs and alcohol, um, lots of calories, right? Think of anything that makes your body produce energy, right? Or your body needs to burn stuff, right? So realistically, anything that you're putting in your body is going to use NAD. It's going to burn it up. So the goal is, it's a delicate balance, right? So we're always trying to achieve what we call homeostasis. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what I would suggest, right? I would say kill those dead cells, then go in and recharge your body with NAD, one of the delivery methods that's most comfortable for you, right? Do it for a month or two, take it away, see how you feel, and then you can always move into step 3, which is the maintenance phase. And then our recommendation is twice a year for anybody between the age of 25 and 50. They can repeat that cycle twice a year. And then if you're over the age of 50, 3 to 4 times a year, depending on your demographic and your health and your current state of health, right?
Is it best to get the shot, or is it best to buy some of the like the powder from your website?
Really, realistically, it's going to depend on your conditions, right? It's going to depend on what's going on with you. If you've got some serious chronic health conditions, then my recommendation is going to be go for the fastest, easiest way to get your blood levels up, right? It's going to be an IV drip, or it's going to be a self-administered shot at home or at your doctor's office, right? Or whatever you choose to do, which is, most comfortable for you. I can tell you these are baby needles. We're not talking about big, giant, muscular, in your butt type shots. We're talking a small gauge, 27, 28 gauge, half-inch insulin syringe, and you're only giving anywhere between a half of a milliliter to a full milliliter, each injection. And so depending on, like I said, what you're comfortable doing, but I would say, it's really okay to start anywhere, right? Like, I'd rather you get it in your body than not get it in your body, right? So if you're telling me, like, I don't know where to start, I'd say, hey, let's go for the powder, right? Or let's go for the patches, or let's go with something that's going to be able to be put into your daily routine so that you are going to stay compliant with it and not get, not get too discouraged because you're worried about taking a shot or something. Like, and guess what? My patented product is right around the corner. So the new pill version will be out really soon. And there's more than just, and there's more than just anecdotal evidence there, right? I actually have scientific data to back up this new delivery system.
Well, I just went on the site and I bought the metamorphic
The kit.
anti-aging and all the kit. Yeah.
Okay. So perfect. So that's great. So I'll make sure I reach out to our operations team over there in California. because I want to include a few other products in there for you to try.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
so yeah, I'll be able to get your
So,
order number.
we're definitely going to run out of time. So we're going to have to do an
I know,
encore,
I
a
know,
second
I
session
know.
here. What were you doing before this? So like, you're a
My
doctor. So
God, yeah.
like,
So
tell me about your life prior to the NAD stuff.
okay, so I went to Catholic schooling my whole life. They were always telling me, "You're going to be a priest. You're going to be a priest. You're going to be a priest." And I'll tell you what, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was like, "No, I will not become a priest." Right? Like this is not happening. I'm not going to do this. However, I got in trouble a lot in high school. I was a little mischievous kid who always found a way to get out of trouble. But as I would get out of trouble, they'd be like, "Hey, the punishment for what you've done is you got to commit to going to seminary school." Right? So I'd be like, "Okay, sure, I'll become a priest." Right? So anyway, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Right? And after high school, I had found myself in a really tough position. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol pretty bad at that age, and I was homeless an entire 7 months. Right? My mother threw me out on the street, and she said, "Hey, you're on your own, pal. Like I can't take care of you anymore. Like you're an adult now." And I've got two younger siblings. I had two brothers that were currently, needing to be raised properly, right? And so my mom did what she thought was best, which is she basically gave me the boot, and I forgave my mom. There's all this stuff there, right? But all that's great now. Like my mom and I are in a much better place. My mom's a born again Christian, and she's come to Jesus, and she's had her own experiences, right, with God. So I'm very grateful for all of that. But essentially, I joined the military, right? After I was homeless, I didn't know what to do. Right, I was kind of like, what do I do now? Because I've been, abusing my body, not taking my future seriously. So I decided to join the Marine Corps. And let's just say that I got hurt not too far into my military career, and I blew my meniscus out. I injured my knees, both knees, and I got out of the military. I did not go to combat. I did not do anything like that. So I don't look at my career service in the military as really anything to really talk about, other than you know I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I didn't go overseas, because some of the people that I did serve with, they did lose their lives, and some of those things happened. But I have the utmost respect for veterans, and I do not put myself in that category of being someone that said I valiantly and proudly served my country, because, like I said, I got hurt. Right, so when I got home, I became a fireman paramedic. I went to firefighting school, became a firefighter. I went and got a degree in fire science, and that was an associate's degree. And then I had to become an EMT. I became a firefighter. I worked on various different private ambulance companies and for private fire departments. And then I started to be interested in like wanting to get into the action, right? I wanted to get into Chicago. I wanted to work for CFD. And so I started to apply for that opportunity. And I got to do all of my what they call rotational clinical hours on a Chicago ambulance. And let me tell you, that was a wake up call. I was like, I did not sign up for this. I mean, we were running 30 plus calls a day. I mean, in a day, in a 24-hour period. That's like more than one call an hour. You know how like that, if anybody who's listening right now knows what I'm talking about, they'll understand that that's like insanity, right? That's like a lot of calls, and you're dealing with traumas. Now, I won't say every single call is of that nature, but in the neighborhood that worked in, which was the west side of Chicago, shootings, stabbings all day long. At 7 a.m., we were getting shootings. 9 a.m. stabbings, right? 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to pick up a 12-year-old girl who's being prostituted by her uncle. Like this is the type of stuff I was having to deal with at that time, and it was too emotional after a while. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like I'm not sure this is where I want to be. right? So I had spent almost 4.5, 5 years in that field. And then to make that decision, it didn't come easy. And then I had family and friends that were like, no, you're going to regret this. Don't quit. Don't do that. But I did. And so then I decided that was going to move. I wanted to get out of Chicago, and I moved out to New Jersey, out on the East Coast. I had some friends out there, and I had some people that kind of encouraged me to come that way. And so I went out there with the intention that I would kind of see what the East Coast could offer me. So I did get into firefighting and paramedic out there too, but I did it on a volunteer basis. And then that's when I got into the health and wellness industry. So I got a job working for LA Fitness Corporate, and I started out as like a low level gym sales guy. Within a year, I was a vice president, supervisor, district over the entire region. That's how much I moved up in a very short amount of time. And I was part of the Bally merger. So if anybody here remembers Bally Total
Yeah,
Fitness,
Bally Total
was
Fitness. Yeah.
it was a big gym, nationwide gym, right? Well, they went bankrupt because they paid their employees too much money, in my opinion. They didn't have the sales to support what they were paying their people, right? And so they folded, they went bankrupt, and LA purchased most of those clubs. So when that merger and acquisition took place, my job was to onboard these employees from Bally's, but also my job was to expose internal theft, right? Like, think about what could go on in a gym. Gyms are the biggest fronts for drugs, guns, human
Really?
trafficking, human trafficking.
Real? What?
Yeah, we used to have DEA agents and FBI and ATF agents in our gym on a regular basis. So I worked at the one on the Jersey Shore in Toms River, New Jersey, and I ran that club with my co-managers, right? And those people could attest. Yeah, we had all kinds of undercover operations going on a regular basis. And not only that, this is when the Jersey Shore TV show was very popular and prevalent
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
MTV.
Yeah.
So we were dealing with those knuckleheads too, right? So it became a kind of like a shit show, really, to say, if I could curse here and say that word. Otherwise, yeah, it was ridiculous to observe. But yeah, gyms are really big fronts, and so I started to get a reputation as being the guy that if you saw me show up at your club, there was a good chance everybody was getting fired, right? Because I was investigating you. That meant you were doing something at your club that you shouldn't be doing, which is you were taking money under the table. You were stealing from the company. And that was my job. But I got that reputation. And then what would happen is I'd get cornered by these Bloods and Crips, right? Because the East Coast has got a lot of Bloods and Crips. And some of them worked for these gyms, and they'd see me and they'd threaten me and they'd threaten my life. And they'd say, hey, if you think you're going to come here and you're going to fire us or you're going to do this, we'll kill you. And I'd just be like, look, I'm here to do a job, like I don't care who you are, like if you're stealing, I'm gonna say something about it. Right. Until I got locked in the trunk of my own car one day. Right. Basically, that's what happened. Somebody put a cloak over my head, threw me in the trunk of my own car, and drove me around for like 20 minutes. And when they finally let me out, the response that I had was, okay, I'm done with this job. Right.
Yeah.
So I was in a relationship with this woman, and I came back home that night and I told her what happened. And she was like, okay, you're quitting. Like you're quitting. I support you quitting. And so that's what happened is I quit, and I went to the company and I basically said, hey, you guys can't protect me. This is a hostile work environment, hostile, like super hostile. So I quit, and I filed for unemployment against them, and I beat them in that case because they tried to dispute the unemployment. They weren't going to pay me, right? They were like, well, we're not paying you if you quit. And I said, well, I'm quitting because you can't keep me safe. Like this is a
Yeah.
dangerous job.
Yeah.
Running a gym. I mean, it's not, but people who run gyms and work in that industry, they know exactly what I'm saying is true. And from from especially the early 2000s, mid
How, like,
2010s.
what do you, okay, so drug fronts, like, they're like laundering money. Like, what do
Oh
you
yeah.
mean by that? Like, how is that
So
working?
so think about it this way. You got locker rooms. What are those locker rooms usually used for, right? Well, changing, right? So people go in, they change their clothes, they shower, whatever, they come out. So imagine you walk in my gym, you got a suitcase, you got a luggage bag with you. You go in, you put your luggage in, you put your combination lock on, you go work out, you come back, you grab your stuff, you go home. Okay. Well, what these people would do is they would come in. I don't want to give anybody any ideas right now, but trust me, the creative drug and criminal minds are have already like way past all this, right?
Already
So
doing it. Yeah.
they're already doing it, right? So I'm not revealing anything here that isn't already known to them. So what they would do is they would have a front man or a bag man or a drop off man bring something into a gym, put it in a locker, contact the person who needs to do the pickup, text them or call them and give them the combination for that locker. And then another person who comes in, goes to the gym, goes straight to that locker, grabs the bag, walks out, and I'm none the wiser. The gym is none the wiser. Nobody is paying attention to the bag that you brought in. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not paying attention to you as the manager. My staff isn't designed to pay attention to you, right? Same thing with human trafficking. Kids would get dropped off by one parent or one person in the kids club and get picked up by somebody totally different. So that's the type of stuff that I'm saying very, very regularly. And yeah, and I mean to the point where like I was having the DEA agents, they were like, reading me in and reading my staff in on some of these things that were happening over there. And then
Yeah.
there's always an agenda, right? Like everybody's, these different agencies always had an agenda of what they were looking to accomplish. But for me, I got out of it. So what I did after I quit was I moved to Thailand and I wanted to kind of spiritually get grounded again. I started to feel some trauma from my childhood. I was abused as a kid. I was sexually molested and abused and had some trauma. So some of these things started kind of bubbling back up to the surface. And this was before I was a born again Christian. And so I was like, well, you know what? I want to learn about Buddhism. I want to study Buddha. I want to study all this stuff. So I moved out to Thailand and I lived on basically a monastery where I was able to learn all of those things as well as farming, sustainable organic farming, and like how to take care of the earth, right? And yoga and all these things, acupuncture, Thai massage. We were doing everything out there. And I was up in the jungle in the area called the Golden Triangle. So it's on the Burma border. It's a very dangerous area now to live in, very dangerous. But I was in the remote jungle, like 2 hours from the closest city, right? And I was there for an extended period of time, and then I was tracking Hurricane Sandy. I was tracking it, and so I knew that it was coming to hit the East Coast, and I went back to support that relief effort. So when I came back to the States, I got back with the girl that I had been dating before. We got back together, and right after that, I got worked on an ambulance again. I started working on an ambulance, and then I eventually got into law enforcement, and I worked at the Ocean County Sheriff's for a while as well too. And then I left New Jersey in 2013. That girl and I, we just kept button heads constantly, and that's a separate thing. But she was not someone that really enjoyed the fact that I worked in law enforcement. She didn't like anything that I did, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
She wanted to kind of control my life. She was also significantly older than me and had 3 kids, right? So I was a single guy, and I can say I can understand why someone would be insecure about a younger man with an older woman with 3 kids. So anyway, we split up. I moved back to Chicago. I did law enforcement back in the city at a suburb for a little bit. And then that's when I got all these health problems. That's when I started to have all these colorectal issues and I had to get put on opioid pain medication. And then for the next 2.5 years, I had multiple surgeries over and over and over again, trying to get to the bottom of what was going on with my colon until ultimately that's how I got on NAD. That's when I went back to school. I had also had a bachelor's degree in computer science. Then I got a master's degree. Then I went for my PhD, and then I started working in teaching. So then I got a teaching gig in Chicago as a STEM. You familiar with the term STEM? Science,
Yeah.
technology, engineering, and math.
Dr. Chase, I'm so sorry. I gotta table it here, but let's
Okay.
I definitely want to have another one if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah,
I'd
I
love
think we
to
could keep going. I think you could clip out some good stuff and whatever.
yeah.
But I would, yeah,
Um
this could take a hot minute, Andrew.
that's fine. The next one I'll set aside a full hour. You tell me what, I'm plugged in the beginning half of next week, or we could look to the first week of December.
I'm available if you want to do the beginning of next week. It would have to be Monday or Tuesday because it's Thanksgiving, and I'm traveling to Chicago to take my daughter and wife to see my family. So I could
Let's
do
do
Monday or Tuesday.
your central time.
Yeah, Central Time.
Okay, I'm gonna kick it to the afternoon on Monday the 24th.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much, dude. This is gonna be, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you for giving me this opportunity, Andrew. So
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
all right.
yeah. I'm sure
Well, God
we'll see
bless
some
you.
sales from the podcast too.
Oh, I'm not even worried about that, bro. Just you endorsing it is great. So I can't wait to help you with some of this stuff too. And believe me, I'm excited to put you on the protocol. So I think you'll enjoy it a lot.
Sweet.
Your body will be very happy. Okay, thank you, brother. Have a great day.